Welcome. As we bring you episode 62 of the St0ner Sports Radio podcast. Joining me once again, my friend and co-host Zach Huffman is in the building. Zach, how are we doing on this fantastic Saturday afternoon?
We're doing great because the Thunder have 56 wins right now.
Yeah, 56.
We got one game left in the season. Probably going to finish number one.
Yeah, it has been a very successful season for the Thunder. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into the March Madness men and women's tournaments. Winners have been crowned. Games were good. We'll recap that, and Zach will give us a Thunder update before we get out of here. Plenty to talk about today, so let's hop right into it. So, men and women's national championships for basketball are concluded. Let's start with the ladies, because ladies first as normal here. Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina here with Cardoza underneath for the Game Chickens. Look, this really came down to, in my opinion, just poor shooting by Caitlin Clark down the stretch. Started hot in that first quarter. Things were looking dangerous and then cooled off as the game kind of teetered along. What were your impressions of South Carolina's victory to give them another national title?
Well, I'd say that, this is a super team versus Caitlin Clark is what it was. I mean, obviously South Carolina just has multiple WNBA draft picks that, it's hard for anyone to beat that team. That's why they were undefeated. But I think I disagree with the thing about Caitlin Clark taking, bad shots at the end. They weren't. She didn't make them, but they were shots she had to take.
Yeah.
No one else is taking those shots. She is the offense. She has to take them. And down the stretch, she's trying to get back into the game as best she could. I mean, for most of the game there, I'm thinking Caitlin Clark's going to win that bitch by herself. But, I mean, South Carolina just proved to be too much. But, shit, Caitlin Clark was really impressive in that first quarter.
Oh, yeah. No, it was amazing. I'm just saying, after you hit a three, you don't need to, run down and just shoot a 40-footer. Maybe try for, another normal range three. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not in her range, but she had not been hitting that all night. I think that was kind of the thing. It was she can. I'm not saying she can't. I'm just saying, from a and her coach obviously doesn't give a fuck. She knows, she's got the green light past half court. There's no, oh, it's a bad shot. But it just seemed like it to me because she didn't seem in rhythm after that first quarter. It just seemed like maybe the legs were kind of starting to go, which is funny to say because she chucks up 60 shots a night, it seems like. So it's they shouldn't really have been going, but it's, just impressive, right? Like you said, WNBA talent throughout that team, and then Iowa's got 95% white chicks that are out here trying to dribble around these monsters inside the paint. It just, it was just too much. The physicality really wasn't there. And to be honest, Zach, this kind of, pro South Carolina movement kind of started after that UConn-Iowa game where you had that offensive foul late. Do we want to dive into that a little bit? It was an offensive foul. Did you like the call, or would you have rather had Paige Bueckers a chance to at least shoot that basketball? And there was still obviously going to be time left if she made that shot. And Iowa had a timeout that could have advanced it. Obviously, the ref blew the whistle. Iowa took the basketball and ended up winning that game. But I thought that Final Four game was kind of one of the most polarizing games of both tournaments. What were your thoughts on kind of the ending of that and kind of what your thoughts were on the call?
Well, it's tough because I don't want the ref to call it there. As a fan, I don't want that to happen. But then I'm thinking if it's a foul in the first minute, it's a foul in the last minute. And you shouldn't change the way you call plays or call fouls based on the situation. A foul's a foul. And it was a foul. I don't know how else to put it. It was a moving screen.
Did you watch that whole game, or did you just kind of were you just casually flipping
I watched
through
like
it?
the first half, and as usual, fell asleep.
Okay, well, I mean, well, so because
But
to me,
I saw the play,
yeah,
and that was a moving screen.
yeah,
I mean,
well,
it
to
was.
me though, like as far as the way the game was refereed throughout, like I feel like they were letting them be really physical, and like you were seeing girls like get mugged, like trying to like like get to the both teams, not just Iowa, but I mean like both teams driving to the basket seemed like they were allowing a lot of contact, and there were like hard screens that were set throughout. But like you said, like it was a textbook foul. I just felt like because they were letting him play so physical, I don't know if I would have called that if I were a ref. I feel like I would have probably at least. I mean, but it was kind of egregious. Like she stepped her left foot out there and
Yeah,
really kind of the forearm was a little high. I mean it. And I felt like she didn't need to do that anyways. I felt like it was like Paige Beckers was going to get that ball. Even if a player is in front of her, like she had enough time. There's, 8 seconds left or whatever. Like she had enough time to where she could have tried to go back the other way and, taken that screen and reversed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of taking it the way it was supposed to, where she was supposed to curl around it, if she had gotten the ball and because the screener couldn't make contact, there was a defender there, take it back the other way and use that same screener, just have her turn around and take it the other way maybe. I mean, there were
yeah.
options there where they didn't have to, but I get it. You're trying to get your team in a position to win. If you're that young girl setting that screen, like, you're trying your best to make that play work for the benefit of your team. But I thought UConn played that game textbook well. I think they were in a good position to win that basketball game. I just think that, the way that game was played throughout, it was so freaking good. It just kind of deflated my energy to be like, oh, that's like one of the best games of all time because it came down to like that call. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not
Yeah.
really up there for me in that echelon because like you didn't let the players decide the outcome really, even though like technically you did because it's a foul. But I mean like, you know,
I mean, she gained a clear advantage from the foul on the offensive side. I think it would be super unfair to Iowa if you don't call that foul there. I mean, it would be one thing if it was a little forearm extension on a screen, but it was like a moving screen that she set like 3 times, like in one play. I mean that was so egregious that you have to call it there. If you, I mean, I don't know if I don't. I think if that doesn't get called, then we're saying the exact same thing about Iowa being screwed.
I mean, because
Um,
because the reason I don't think that is because if, like I said, if she gets that shot off, there's at least 2.5 seconds left, and in the women's game, you can advance the ball, and they had a timeout, and you've got Caitlin Clark. You're telling me even if Paige Beckers makes that mid-range jumper to put them up 1 point, that I'm not trusting Caitlin Clark to make a 35-foot three to win that thing? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I mean, they would have at least had a chance. So you can't say they would have been screwed out of it unless there would have been no time left, which I don't think there's a scenario where there's no time left unless she misses it back rim and there's some girl down there that's a monster that's going to tip it in at the buzzer on an
I
offensive
mean,
rebound.
you could if that were to happen, if they didn't call that and they were letting Iowa get that last shot, assuming that Paige made the shot, right?
Yeah.
Then I think you can expect Iowa to do the exact same thing on the other side of the court and expect not to get a call for it. Like you're going to
Yeah.
expect
Yeah. No.
to be
Yeah.
able to, who Stolke, yeah, Stolke to like
Yeah.
set a hard screen, move like 3 times to
Yeah.
let that to make sure that Caitlin's open, and I mean she's probably making that
That's
shot.
what I'm saying. Like, I
Um,
don't think you would
but
have.
if I'm the ref, right, you have to think about that, and you have to think like, am I going to call it? If I'm not calling it here, then I'm not calling it down there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if I'm in the ref's position, I'm probably calling it.
Yeah, and there's no denying that I think that regardless of who won that game, you're probably getting cooked by South Carolina. Like I don't think UConn would have done any better than what Iowa gave us in that game. I think both of those teams probably would have lost. So I
Yeah,
think I think that I think we got a good outcome. I'm glad she got a chance to play for it again. Well, not again, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. I'm glad that she got there. She carried that team that far, and good for her.
twice. Yeah,
Yeah, twice. Yeah. So
and lost to some super teams.
yeah. So I mean, like, what are you gonna do? I mean, you didn't have any help. There's no NIL out in Corntown. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So I mean,
Man, she's making so much money. I
oh,
bet
oh yeah. Do you
that
think she
State
should?
Farm deal and
Do you think that she should take the Big 3 deal because she'll also be able to do NBA as well.
Yeah, why not? That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to play super hard in the big three. They just want you to shoot. It's
Yeah.
not like they're expecting you to guard Zach Randolph. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
step out there and shoot some threes, shoot some logo
right.
shots.
Yeah. I mean, it's entertainment. It's not really there for a
Yeah,
competitive aspect of it. It's
like try to
it's rec
win
league
because
for
like
retired NBA players.
it is a league. You should try to win, but
Yeah,
it's
it's like rec
you're not
league.
going to risk
Yeah.
your WNBA career for
No,
it. I mean,
no.
honestly, maybe you do. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you
This
do.
is
Yeah, fuck it.
so much more money.
Yeah, it
Like
is
up the
though.
WNBA if they're not able to pay it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like
So
a team's going to have to pay Caitlin Clark on her net salary because her first one's not going to be a
no,
lot.
it's not.
But the amount of revenue that she's going to bring in just from the amount of people that are going to start watching more of the WNBA because of her, I mean, I expect that she'll probably get the first $1 million contract pretty soon.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what the contracts are. Maybe there is $1 million one out there,
yeah. I
but hold on, let me this up.
top paid WNBA player.
Yeah, what is it? Jeez, $241,984.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
pretty. Caitlin Clark's gonna get $1 million,
yeah.
easy.
I mean, you got to, right? I
The
mean,
highest paid player right now is tied for a few people, but it's Jewel Lloyd. Shout out the Storm.
yeah, I mean, but again, I mean, most athletes in general make more money off of endorsements and commercials, and she'll still have that going for her. So she'll make more money doing that than she will playing in the WNBA, like most of them do.
Yeah,
At least the really really good players. Um, Jumping over to the men's side here, this one Final Four was okay. You had Alabama and UConn, and on the other side you had NC State and Purdue. I was kind of expecting NC State to give Purdue a little bit more trouble than they did. They just didn't shoot the ball very well, and I really thought that Burns' big body was going to give Zach Edey a little bit of problems, but it really didn't. And they just kind of skated on by. I mean, any takeaways that stood out to you in that matchup?
no, I mean Edie did what he was supposed to do, and kind of what I expected. He's so much taller than Burns, right? That he wasn't going to be able to really stop him no matter what. And sure, like DJ Burns has a lot of weight on him and bullied him a little bit, but Zach Edey's so tall and has so much length that he can make up for it and recover. Like he's got like 8 inches on Burns. I mean, it's just not fair.
Yeah. And then on the other side, you had a pretty good game actually between Alabama and UConn. That thing was a lot
Yeah,
closer than a lot of people thought it was going
interesting.
to be.
UConn ended up pulling away though.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of as I
yeah.
expected they would.
It
But
yeah.
Alabama hung in there for a lot longer than I thought they were going to, and I think that's a testament to their coaching.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. No, that's
probably the best coach in the SEC. I don't know, maybe it's Rick Barnes.
eh, yeah. I mean, still Calipari. Um, um, go Hogs.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, anyways, and so that led us to Alabama and UConn and Purdue in the national title game, and this one was a good first half. I mean, it was competitive, and then kind of after halftime, the guards for Purdue just couldn't get anything going. They shot like 4 threes the whole entire game. It felt like only one in the first half. Um,
Yeah,
I think that was kind of the difference when you have a team that averages 8 made threes a game and they make two the whole entire game. I mean, that's not going to help you out. I think that just is a testament to UConn's perimeter defense and forcing them to kind of feed the ball to Edey, and he had a good night. I mean, double double, easy. Did his job, put up 30 plus.
yeah, 37,
Yeah,
put up over
yeah,
half of Purdue's points. I
yeah.
mean,
So I mean,
shit.
and I think that UConn took that approach of we're gonna let Zach Edey get 50 if he does because none of the other guys are gonna do anything, and that's exactly what happened. They just, Braden Smith didn't do anything. Fletcher Lawyer, I don't know where the fuck he went. He just disappeared. He looked good in warmups.
0 points.
Yeah, looking good in warmups, jacking threes, and then shoots two the whole entire game and clanks them both off the back iron. I mean, just not good at all. Um, and on the other side, it's kind of the same thing with South Carolina on the women's side, just kind of a super team in this UConn team that just they have shooters everywhere and they're pretty lengthy it just seemed like even though they got into foul trouble there kind of late, it just didn't seem to really matter because their depth is just so good. And you have the freshman playing like a junior senior. I mean, it's something that a lot of teams don't have. And I think that this UConn team was definitely prepped to be the first back-to-back. It was just getting over a couple of those humps in the tournament where it was like, okay, you're down by 2 points, you're down by 4 points, you haven't been down the whole entire tournament. How do you respond? And what they did was they responded by having huge lopsided runs. So I mean, it was just, it just continued.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And Donovan Clingan has entered the draft, and it's projected to possibly go number one. Is what the streets are saying.
Hmm.
Just because the draft class is so weak.
And they were thinking what Edie was gonna go one before that game, or who were they thinking was gonna go one before he entered?
That French guy, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Something Sard, I think.
Okay.
And then Jalen Williams' little brother, Cody Williams, is there projected to go top 5, top 10. But
McCain
a
left
really,
Duke.
really weak class. Probably I think Dillingham and Shepard are both going in from Kentucky. But still, just a really weak class.
Yeah, I mean, and then like I said, McCain leaving from Duke, also the freshman going into the draft as well. I know you were high on him heading into the tournament. But yeah, it's a weak draft class, for sure. But like we were talking about before we started recording here, this is kind of going to be the big chunk here. Is as we move on here to the NBA playoff scenarios here. This is kind of where most of this episode is going to take place, folks, because we've got so many scenarios. It's going to make your testicles fall off. I mean, it's just there's so many, especially on the East with the fourth seed down. And then obviously up, at the top in the West is kind of where we're focused. But let's kind of just run through these Eastern Conference. This image you sent me of this Eastern Conference scenario here. Kind of lead us through this, Zach, and kind of tell us kind of what you think is going to happen here, because I'm looking at NBA.com's playoff picture, and they've kind of gone off of percentage chances of these events happening and have based their current bracket on what these outcomes may be after Sunday. Go ahead and just kind of walk us through this real quick.
Yeah, the East is insane. You're mostly looking at the Magic, right? Because the Magic are trying to avoid having to go into the play-in, if they can, and if they win, they're probably going to stay as the number 5 team. But if they lose tomorrow, then they are likely to fall down to number 7 or number 8. So let's see, and the Magic have to play the Bucks. The Bucks are looking to win as well, because they want to secure that 2 seed. So I don't think we're going to see anyone sitting tomorrow for a lot of these games. And normally you would have a lot of load management going on for game 82, but so many playoff implications, especially in the East, that I don't think we're going to have many people sitting at all. So you got that Bucks and that Magic game. Bucks are probably winning that. I just feel like if they win, they guarantee themselves to get the number 2 spot in the East. If they lose, they could fall all the way to number 4, and they're likely to fall down to 3 or 4 if that happens. So I think the Bucks want to stay number 2. Magic probably going to lose that game and fall into the play-in. I think we're going to see the Magic in the play-in, unfortunately, as the number 7 team. So that's really what I think is the most interesting game tomorrow in the East. But then, right, you're looking at the Pacers. The Pacers currently slotted to probably be in that number 6 spot, but I think they could get all the way to number 5, because I think the Magic are going to lose. And I think there are a lot of scenarios that as long as the Pacers win and the Magic lose, they could get up to number 5. And the Pacers are playing the Hawks, who are not fighting for anything right now. I don't see any reason that the Hawks are going to try. I don't see any reason that they're going to probably not going to play Trae Young. Pacers should win. They're a better team. I think Pacers get the 5 spot, which puts them probably playing who would that? That'd be the 4, which is probably the Cavs. So Pacers probably going at number 5 for me. Magic probably going number 7 for me. Number 6 is probably going to be between the Sixers and the Heat in that scenario, right? So because I think the Magic are going to lose, that means that if the Sixers win, they are guaranteed to be in that 6th spot as long as the Pacers also win. And even if the Pacers lose, um, the Sixers still have a chance at that. So because I think the Pacers are going to win, and because I think the Magic are going to lose, I think the Sixers probably going to get that number 6 spot. The Sixers are probably going to win no matter who they play. I don't even know who they play, but they have Joel. Yeah, they're playing the Nets, who are also not in the picture.
Yeah, they're sitting everybody.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to see the Joel Embiid probably go for 60 and just you eliminate any doubt and clinch that number 6 spot to stay out of the play-in and probably end up playing the Knicks, which is a very interesting matchup in the playoffs. So I'm thinking 2 teams in the East that are in the play-in currently that probably avoid the play-in are going to be the Pacers and the Sixers. And then in the 7th spot, we're probably going to have the Magic, which leaves the Heat probably to fall at number 8. Even if win or lose, I think they're probably going to be number 8. Just because I think of all those other games that I think are going to happen, and the Heat are playing the Raptors. They'll probably win that game. I don't doubt that. But I think even if the Heat win that game, they're still number 8.
Yeah, and the Hawks are kind of locked into that play-in game scenario along with the Bulls. I think those are the 2 you're looking at, like you said, that are locked into those 9-10 spots.
Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I got everything right here.
I think you were right. I mean, according to this sheet, it looks like the Pacers are the favorite to get the 6th seed.
No, I'm wrong, because if the Magic lose and the Heat win, then they will not be the 8th spot. So I had the Magic losing, Pacers winning, Sixers winning, and the Heat winning, which would put Pacers, Sixers, Heat, then Magic. So the Magic would fall down to number 8, and the Heat would get number 7 in my scenario.
Okay. Yeah, so you're looking at scenario number 9 here, probably, right?
Scenario number 9 on the picture that I've seen, yeah. So that will leave number 5 Pacers, number 6 Sixers, number 7 Heat, number 8 Magic, which leaves us with a Heat and Magic play-in game. Probably taking the Heat.
Yeah, I would think so.
That would leave the Heat to play probably the Bucks. And then I think the Magic probably come out the other side of the play-in, and they would be right there playing the Celtics.
Who would be playing the Celtics?
The Magic.
Magic would have the 8th seed, so they would be playing. Who would they be playing if they had the 8th seed? They'd be playing the
Celtics. If they had the 8th seed, they'd be playing the Heat in the play-in, and then I think they lose that, and then they would play whoever wins the
Bulls,
the 9-10 spot.
Yeah, so
yeah,
you're thinking
probably
it'd be
Magic
the Bulls.
and
Bulls.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the Magic
the
are better than both of those teams.
Okay,
so.
I mean, okay, that makes sense.
So I'll tell you, we're looking at Celtics and Celtics and Magic in the first round. Then I'm looking at Bucks and Heat in the first round. Then I'm looking at Sixers and Knicks and Pacers and Cavs.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I mean, boy, that Knicks series would be wild if it's the Heat. I mean, that's
yeah.
Or the Sixers, right? It would be the Sixers. Yeah, it would be the Sixers and the Heat would be, or the Bucks would be playing.
Yeah, because I think all the teams at the top of the East are going to win. They have easy matchups. The Bucks are going to win because they're playing the Magic and they have a lot to play for here. The Knicks are going to win because they're playing the Bulls.
Yeah, Bucks, Knicks,
the
Bucks,
Cavs
Knicks,
are going to win because they're playing the Hornets.
Yeah, the Bucks, Knicks, Cavs are kind of locked into that 2, 3, 4 seeds.
I believe so, yeah.
And obviously, Celtics clinched number 1 earlier last week, so they're not even in this discussion. They're locked in. They're the only team
Yeah,
locked
well, so locked in.
in. And so that leads us to the West, where we have even more animosity, but only kind of, well, not more, but I mean, like, as far as
Playing for an MVP is really what's
yeah,
happening
exactly,
here.
yeah. So if you look at um, this other image here that we have, I'll post links to them in the description if you want to look at them while we discuss here. But really, this is about the top 3 seeds. Zach. This is about Thunder, Timberwolves, and Nuggets here. There's 5 different, or I guess there's 8 different scenarios here for this top 3 teams. But right now, the Thunder with over a 50% chance of getting that top seed. Go ahead and just kind of break this down for us as we kind of discuss the top here of the West.
Yeah, so this one's tough because the Thunder are probably going to end up being the first seed, and I think that SGA probably wins MVP if that happens. Just to get a context for the states that I think is happening here with the Thunder. I think if SGA ends up with the first seed, I think voters give him the MVP. That seems to be the way that the media is trending right now. With that being said, I think the Thunder are going to win tomorrow because they're playing the Mavericks, who are sitting Luka and Kyrie. This has been confirmed. I think all the starters except for Tim Hardaway are sitting. Specifically because the Mavericks are already locked into that number 5 spot. And the Clippers are locked into that number 4 spot. They're playing each other. The Mavs have nothing to play for. They don't care if they win or lose. Thunder should take care of business because the Thunder obviously want to win. So that leaves, if the Thunder win, there are 3 out of 4 scenarios that the Thunder get the top spot. The only scenario where that doesn't happen is if the Timberwolves win and then the Nuggets lose, then the Timberwolves would get that top spot and the Thunder would fall to number 2. So then we got to look at the Timberwolves. Timberwolves are playing the Suns. Suns don't really have anything to play for, I don't think. So I don't know if we're going to see all their starters play.
The Suns are locked into that 7 spot, it looks like.
Yeah.
They're locked into the 7 spot. And obviously the 6 spot is also locked as well. So Pelicans at 6, Suns at 7, that doesn't change. So they're just waiting to see who they're going to play in the play-in, whether it's going to be the Lakers, Warriors, or Kings.
Well, here's what's really happening, right? For the Suns, they're looking at the play-in, and they're looking to win that first play-in game, right? So they're kind of orchestrating right now who they're going to play at the 2 spot, because if they decide to lose, then they'll probably play OKC. Or if the Suns decide to lose to the Wolves, then they'll likely play OKC because OKC is going to win. The Thunder and then the Timberwolves are going to win. And if the Nuggets lose, then that gives the Suns the best chance to play the Thunder instead of the Timberwolves, which is what I think they want to happen. I think they would rather play the Thunder than the Timberwolves in the first round, just because of the defense from the Timberwolves. So I think, honestly, that the Suns are going to try to lose this game. And when they do so, they're trying to set it up so that the Timberwolves can get the number 1 spot and the Thunder fall to number 2. But even if that were to happen, they're not guaranteed that. So since it doesn't really matter, I think they're going to try to lose. I think we can assume that the Timberwolves are going to win. So then you have another scenario, and this is when it falls down to the Thunder right now, is if the Nuggets win or lose depends if the Thunder get number 1 or number 2, if both the Timberwolves and the Thunder win. Because if the Nuggets win, then the Thunder get that first spot. If they lose, then the Thunder get that second spot. And the Nuggets, I believe, are playing
Memphis.
the who?
Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies. That's a win.
Yeah.
Honestly, that has to be a win. The Grizzlies have like their entire team out with injury. They sat 13 players the other night. I don't see a world that the Nuggets lose this game. We're probably looking at Thunder, Wolves, Nuggets. Probably what's going to happen. In the event that the Wolves lose to the Suns, the Thunder get that top spot no matter what. Unless the Thunder lose to the Mavericks, which shouldn't happen. There is only one scenario that the Thunder get that top spot. If the Thunder lose to the Mavericks, it's probably going to the Wolves. So, a lot to unpack there. But at the end of the day, Thunder, Wolves, Nuggets is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, and then the bottom half, you have this 8, 9, 10 seed kind of thing with the Lakers, Warriors, and Kings. It looks like the Lakers are the favorite to get that 8 seed. They own 5 out of the 8 scenarios here, and all I have to do is win. Really, if they win, they seem pretty. They have a 50% chance if they win to get that 8 seed. So that seems like Suns Lakers seems like what's going to happen with that 7-8 play-in game. Winner obviously getting to play 2 seed, which in our most likely scenario would be the Timberwolves. And then, of course, the 9 seed looks like it's going to be the Kings. They have 50% of the scenarios trending that way for them. And the Warriors are the favorite to get the 10 seed with 50% scenario there. So, I mean, again, I say 50%. I mean, that's a coin toss. But the Warriors, the best they can hope for is the 8 seed. And the only way they do that is if they win and the Lakers and Kings both lose. So I mean, yep. I don't see that happening, because the Kings and Lakers, who are they playing? They're playing.
The Lakers are playing. Oh geez, the Pelicans. Pelicans are locked in at number 6.
So
I don't
they're
see the Pelicans
sit.
playing their starters. Lakers probably winning. They're probably gonna get that 8 spot, and then they'll be locked in to play the Suns in the play-in.
Yeah, and the Kings, who are they playing? They're playing.
The Kings are playing the Trailblazers. Probably winning that game.
Yeah, the Trailblazers are going to try it.
Which pretty much locks in Lakers, Kings, Warriors, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think that's probably the most likely scenario there. It's not as manic as the top, but that seems like kind of where these things are trending, and I kind of like what we've got going on there. I think this is going to be a good playoff. I think that we're going to have some good matchups in that first round on both sides, and I think that nothing's going to be a cakewalk to this year's NBA Finals. I think this is going to be a very hard, grinded out, multiple series going the distance type of playoffs, because I just don't see anybody except for maybe the Celtics out of the East having an easy time getting to their conference finals.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a really interesting play-in, especially here in the West, because we already talked about the East play-in. That's got its own implications. But in the West, what we're looking at is probably LeBron versus KD, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Suns super team versus LeBron and Anthony Davis. That's an interesting matchup. We'll see how Nurkic can do on Anthony Davis, see if that matchup is anything to look at. And then LeBron on KD, obviously. That's great. And then we're probably going to have the Kings and the Warriors battling out to play the loser of that game, which we're hoping is the Suns, because we don't want to play the Lakers in round 1. But Kings Warriors play, I think the Warriors probably win that, right? The Warriors probably win that just because Steph playoff mode. The Kings are kind of mid. So are the Warriors, but Steph playoff mode is different. So
yeah.
I think we're probably looking at a Kevin Durant versus the Warriors in the next round of the play-in to get the right to play the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, I could easily see the Warriors being this 8 seed.
I could too, but there's only one scenario that happens organically, which is interesting. When I say that, I mean what happens tomorrow.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that, like you said, if it's Thunder, Timberwolves, Nuggets, I mean, I would like to see the Warriors, I think, out of this grouping, and because I think that's what's going to happen. I think because the Warriors have more depth than the Suns, and their young guys are playing so well right now, and they're playing well, and the Suns aren't really playing that well. I think that, if it were to come down to them playing each other after that first couple play-in games, I think you could definitely see a Warriors team getting by the Suns and squeaking themselves into that 8th spot. I don't know
It's
if
an
I would
interesting take.
prefer it, but I mean, I think that that's probably what you're looking at, and that doesn't really scare me as much. You've kind of talked me off the ledge because unless Clay's dropping 35 plus along with Steph, I don't think that they're going to have a chance to keep up with us.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I also think it's a really interesting take because you kind of have the Suns going from that top spot in the play-in at the 7th spot all the way out,
Yeah.
and losing 2 games in a row with playoff implications on the line. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would probably pick the Suns to beat the Warriors there, and I think the Thunder are going to be playing the Suns. Kevin Durant's going to be returning to Paycom or what he knew as Chesapeake, um, for round 1 of the playoffs, and that's going to get loud, and I'm going to have to get me some tickets to that one because I got to participate in Loud City, get that decibel record back from Oracle.
Yeah, I think that's. I think that's what the media would prefer. I think that's what we would prefer as just a more polarizing matchup for sure.
I think we match up super well too. I mean, I was telling you before the last time we played the Suns, SGA and Jada both out of the game, and Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal all played, and we beat the Suns by like 30. We seem to match up well against them. I want it to happen. Also, I think that Kevin Durant's going to end up playing for the Thunder about like next year, anyways. So you might as well go ahead and win us a series by tanking it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just I think it's just that. I think it's just the trajectories right now is what's getting me. Just because the Warriors are playing so good and the Suns aren't. If they were to match up, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if the Warriors, I mean, it just seems like because of the lack of depth, everybody matches up good with the Suns. I mean, it's just if your second unit is better than their second unit, you're going to be fine. But here's the thing. Like you said, playoff basketball is different, which means that I don't think Frank Vogel is afraid to play all 3 of their main guys 48 minutes. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he will play them every single second of the game if he needs to, and they haven't been asked to do that as a grouping thus far this season, and I think that's what the Suns are going to have to do in order to get into that 8th spot. I mean, at least that's my opinion. I just don't think they have the depth.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. But I do think that the Suns their starting lineup's good enough to beat the Warriors in that second play-in.
Yeah, unless playoff Clay shows up, unless some of these
That's
things
not
happen.
happening.
Yeah,
He's
so
so
I'm,
washed.
he's so washed.
He's so washed, dude.
I mean, maybe. I mean, he's had his moments. I mean,
so let's make our official predictions. I think I got the Thunder coming out of the West. I really think I do.
you want to make
the Nuggets.
you want to make those predictions. I mean, I was thinking we were just gonna make like predictions on maybe the play-in games here, but we're going. You're digging in with the big spoon. All right.
Let's go ahead and put our names in the hat here. Put our takes in the hat, right?
Oh God. Okay.
And we're getting Thunder coming out of the West. Brutal playoff run, but I think they're gonna come out of the West. So I think we're gonna play the Timberwolves in that conference finals because I think the Timberwolves are going to beat the Nuggets in that game, or in that series, that second round series. Thunder's probably going to have to play the Mavericks in that second round series.
Yeah, they're
right?
Cooked.
And I could see the Nuggets beating the Timberwolves, but I think the defense is going to show up for the Timberwolves. It's going to be too much to overcome, and I think Anthony Edwards is going to have his year to really kind of break out and have a breakout series against the Nuggets. But I just think OKC's too much. I think OKC's got too much depth. They have too much skill, and they have all the momentum right now. I think OKC's coming out of the West.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would favor that. As my biased ass would love to have that happen, but give me the Mavericks. Give me the Mavericks out of the West. Give me the Mavericks out of the West. No, I mean, look,
that's great. So you have the Mavericks beating the Thunder in the second round. Is what you're probably telling me, right?
That's what I've got.
That can't happen.
I know.
Can't happen. I have an agenda to push, and that would really hurt that agenda.
I mean, because here's my thing. Like, I kind of agree with you that I think the Timberwolves are kind of being slept on a little bit here. I like Jokic. And last year, I was nail on the head with my Denver Nuggets pick. And coming into this season, it seemed like they were kind of primed to make that second back, that back to back run that everyone was talking about. And it's just, to me, it seems like the Nuggets are really good. And obviously, I think they get by the Pelicans easy. I think that series probably goes 5 games. I think they probably dispose of the Pelicans pretty easily. The Timberwolves, I feel like, are going to have a little bit longer of a journey in the first round, no matter who they play.
Probably
So I
the
think
Lakers.
I think they're probably going to have to go 6 or 7, regardless. And I think that coming into that, it favors the Nuggets because they're going to have more rest. I think it's kind of what you're looking at. Nuggets Mavericks in the end is kind of what I'm looking at for the Western Conference Finals right now. And what it comes down to is this. I like the combination of Luka and Kyrie the way they're playing now. It's taken a while.
They're like the second best team in the league since the All-Star break.
It's taken a while for them to kind of find their groove together, but the addition of Gafford and PJ Washington is really the takeaway here. Gafford is playing out of his mind and has brought a different element to this team completely. You don't have any of these over the half court line, like, opponent free throw line, alley oops, full court to people before he gets on this team. I think he's kind of the secret to their success is Daniel Gafford. And if he doesn't play well, and I think that matching up against Jokic is a very tall order for anybody. But I think that series is going to be won on the perimeter. I think you have to give Jamal Murray his flowers and say, look, he can probably hang with Kyrie for a couple of games in that series because they put up similar numbers. Luka is going to be the difference. If Michael Porter Jr. doesn't shoot the ball well, if they don't have KCP shooting the ball well from 3, Luka is going to cook this team. And the fact that he is literally probably going to be a triple-double machine this whole entire playoff run, because that's what he's going to have to do in order to get to where I'm saying they're going to get. He's going to have to play that good. And he can, because now he has this extra big guy underneath in Gafford that he can facilitate. And he's gifted offensively enough, and he's big enough. And the Wizards were underutilizing him enough to where we haven't seen his whole bag yet. And so I think that's kind of where I'm drawing this Mavericks pick from. Out of the West, but it's not going to be easy because they got the Clippers in the first round, and if PG and Kawhi and Harden can get their shit together, it won't matter.
Yeah, see, I think the difference in the Nuggets series and the scenario that they play the Mavericks, right, is Kyrie. I really think it's Kyrie. I think Luka can get 50 any day. You can give Luka 50. Let him have 50. Doesn't really matter. It's like letting Zach Edey have 37. You're not going to be able to stop the rest of that team unless you have someone like Kyrie come in and drop 30 for you alongside Luka's 35-point triple-double and alongside Gafford's 19 or 21, right? Because he's not probably getting much more than that. The rest of the team's not going to score much. The Mavericks do not have depth at all. Now, they had some good acquisitions, and they've been hurt. And I don't know what Derek Lively's status is. But I think he will be healthy for the playoffs. I think he should be. He might be healthy now. I think they're going to get a little bit more depth. They're going to get a lot more depth going into the playoffs. So I don't disagree. I think the casinos currently agree with you that the Mavericks are probably the best dark horse candidate you can pick to like come out of the West and possibly win a ring, just because of the way they've been playing. Like you said, Gafford has had such a defensive impact too. Not only just like allowing Luka to facilitate on offense and kind of spread things out a little bit more, but dude, his defense is so much better. They're 17-1 or 17-2 in games that Gafford and Luka have both started. I don't think that's going to change coming into these playoffs much. I think they probably come out of the first round beating the Clippers in 5 or 6 even. Probably in 6 in Dallas home court, but I don't think they're going to beat the Thunder. Probably just bias there. I just think the Thunder are too deep for them.
Yeah, no, I can see your argument. Like, obviously, I want the Thunder to beat them, and I think that they can. It's just like you said. I think that acquisition of Gafford definitely changes kind of what this team is compared to what they were in the first half of the season. And I think it was one of the smartest things they did was acquire those 2 guys from Washington. I think that was a huge move, and if
probably the best move of the season.
Yeah,
if being honest.
And if they make it, as far as I think they're going to make it, I mean, that even further, proves that point. But yeah, I think it all hinges on how the Thunder play them, because I think we're looking at least a first round win for the Thunder, no matter who they're playing. I think they have enough talent to do that. It's just, and the thing is that series is probably going to be crazy. I mean, we've had crazy Thunder Mavs series in the past with those Dirk teams, and those were super entertaining. But this is a different animal, and I think the way they're matching up right now, it only takes a bad shooting night from a couple Thunder players to really turn the tide. And historically, we know how it's been for the Thunder when it comes to that third or fourth player on the roster when it comes playoff time. I mean, we saw it in 2012. James Harden went magician mode and disappeared, and that ended up being his whole entire personality. I mean, does anybody on this team scare you as taking that role? Is there anybody you see that could unfortunately take a step back and kind of revert back into what the hell is going on? Because for me, that player it's probably J-Dub. I mean, as good as he's played it scares me to say that, because he's so efficient and 14 to 18, super good numbers.
But we need him getting 25.
Yeah, if he doesn't,
I feel like we need him getting that.
Yeah,
and if he's going back to his days of getting like 16, 14, 16, instead of giving me like 19, 20, 25, I'm gonna need a couple 30-point games out of him in this playoff series, in these playoff runs. If J-Dub doesn't step up and be a true second option on a championship team, being able to drop 30 when it matters, consistently dropping 20, then yeah, we're in trouble.
Yeah, and so that I think the future of this team hinges on that. If nothing changes and this team can continue to be consistent, which the thing is I love Mark Dacknall to death, and I think he should be coach of the year.
Coach of the year,
I think that if they can ease my mind with that assumption and continue just to be consistent, he's got to be one of the best coaches in the history of the Thunder organization, even if they don't make it to the Western Conference Finals. I mean,
he's the greatest coach we've ever had.
Yeah, I think that,
as a Thunder, maybe not.
Sonics. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
as Thunder, he's the best coach we've ever had.
Yeah,
you're looking at who? Scott Brooks. That's the other option.
Yeah, I mean,
he's definitely not there. He had a lot of talent.
Yeah. And I think
it's Mark.
Yeah, and I think if any team was going to knock my assertions or squelch my doubts on that point that I made, I think it's this team, because I think being young and being naive, I think that kind of gives them an edge with being able to kind of eliminate some of that outside noise and just play basketball. I think that these kids love playing basketball, and I think that they love being around each other. And I think that that's it should, in theory, carry them through any of that adversity that they have. And, if they can have, like, if that happens and J-Dub goes back to that 16, 17 points, I feel like we are equipped to have somebody like a Jay Will or an Isaiah Joe give us 15, 17 plus. You know what I'm saying? To try to counteract if he does take that step back.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I also think you're going to have to see a lot of players like Aaron Wiggins step up in this playoffs. He's going to have to give me 12. He's going to give me 12 a game on 4 threes.
And Giddey has to continue to play really well.
Oh, one second, my washing machine's going crazy.
But yeah, Giddey's gonna have to play extremely well. He's, when SGA and J-Dub were sitting out, that was a huge kind of eye-opening thing to me, to see him drop 30 plus, see him get those double doubles, with assists and points and points and rebounds, whatever it may be. He went through a couple of statistical cycles where he was just super impressive, and the Thunder weren't winning those games, but they weren't winning a lot of those games because you're sitting out SGA and J-Dub. I mean, which is a lot of percentage of your offense for a normal NBA night for the Thunder. So I think that you're looking at this scenario where if Josh Giddey can continue to at least be like, because you don't need him to drop 30, right? Like, you don't need him to drop 30 in the scenario that I'm talking about where everybody's healthy and on the floor, but you need him to be an option if J-Dub takes a step back. If they're playing super good defense on SGA, you're going to have somebody that can get those points in the paint. And the way Josh Giddey played without SGA and J-Dub kind of opened my eyes to the fact that if someone does end up being a little quiet in some categories, Josh Giddey's not afraid to go off for 20 plus and 10 assists. Like, he can do it. But the thing is he had those extra minutes to give in order to get those stats. But it really opened my eyes to the kind of player Josh Giddey could be when off the leash.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he kind of carried us in a kind of in this late season stretch when SGA was out to a lot more wins than I thought we were going to get. He's part of the reason that the Thunder were hunting for this 1 seed.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the depth here is going to probably have to be utilized more because it's playoff basketball. You're going to have SGA going to be hounded every single night. You're going to have to kind of rely on your J Dubs and your Isaiah Joes and your Aaron Wiggins and Chet's going to have to step up for me. My man, Chet, you've got to give me 20, 25 and 10.
Almost 4-point games.
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, now I get, like, if he has like an 8 or 9 point game, at least give me 8 or 9 blocks. You know what I'm saying? Like make up for it somewhere else. Because I mean, you have the talent to do that. He has the ability to give you those kind of numbers, and I think that, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, the Thunder are going to flip a switch and be even better, because I think that's kind of a facade that we've kind of created for ourselves as NBA fans, that these players just have another notch when it comes to the playoffs. And maybe they do, but I think for the main part, it's just I think the stars play more minutes, so you get kind of more of them than you do in a regular season game where the coach is like, oh, we're up 10-15, let me sit them. In the playoffs, if you're up 10-15, you try to beat a team by 30 because you know that lead can just evaporate.
And you do it for momentum too. Blowing out a team means a lot, going into the next game. And yeah, you're going to, instead of seeing SGA play 34 minutes, 32 minutes, 36 minutes, we're going to be seeing him play 42, 44. He's going to get like 1 minute breaks.
Yeah.
They're going to be quick, and they're going to be, strategically placed to where like maybe sits 2 minutes at the end of the second quarter so that he gets that whole long break. And then, I don't want to get into it too much, but
yeah,
you're going to see SGA sit barely in it. He's probably playing 44 minutes.
Well, and that's why, sitting him out and kind of load managing him here towards the end, plus this week off you get after tomorrow, because you obviously don't have to, do anything for the play-in games. So I think that these next 6 days or 7 days after tomorrow, and then in a week from Sunday, you have to be able to rest him up because he's going to be taking those minutes. And I think that they did a really good job of giving themselves a chance to still fight for the 1 seed as well as rest their stars. And I think that's a good balance to have. And I think it really kind of puts him in a good position there. When we talk about the East here, Zach, as we kind of, wind it down here, this thing is a little bit more interesting. Who do you have coming out of the East here? Because obviously I picked the Mavericks here, but obviously if the Thunder can figure out a way to beat them, that's, my heart is with them, but my head says Mavericks. Where's your head and your heart on the Eastern side of this bracket?
I think the conference finals is going to be the Celtics versus the Knicks. I think we're going to see obviously 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be Celtics, Bucks, Knicks, Cavs. I think all of those teams win their first rounds. All of them. I don't think there's a team that in the bottom half that can beat any of them, except maybe the Heat. I could see the Heat coming out of there just because, like, that's kind of what they do, I guess. But then, so you have the matchups in the second round, right? Probably going to be the Celtics versus the Cavs, and you got the Bucks versus the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to beat those Bucks in probably 6 games. I think they match up well. I think Jalen Brunson's going to turn it up and into an insane level. He's got my vote for All NBA first team over Jason Tatum for me. And the way that I have those rosters filled out is a whole different thing. But Jalen Brunson's going to be on a different level. I think we're going to see Josh Hart kind of step up, give us 15-point triple doubles instead of 10-point triple doubles. I don't think Giannis and Dame are going to be able to handle it as much as we think they can, and I don't know. I feel like the Celtics are going to come out of the East still. I think they're going to beat the Cavs easy, probably like 5 games. And then you got the Celtics playing the Knicks. I don't think the Knicks have an answer for just all of the things that the Celtics have. I mean, I don't know who's going to guard Jason Tatum, OG maybe. Then you have who's going to guard Jaylen Brown? Is it Josh Hart?
Mhm.
Probably. I mean, who's gonna guard Kristaps? Who's gonna guard Drew Holiday? I mean, it's tough. I don't I don't know of a way that the Nets could beat the Celtics, but I think that the Nets do make that conference finals run, but the Celtics are just too much. So I think I have the Celtics playing the Thunder in the championship series.
I like your Celtics pick a lot. I think it's hard to pick against them because, like you said, they're so deep and they've got that mentality of really wanting to get back to where they've been. But I will change it up a little bit for you. I've got Celtics and 76ers.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is and the thing is I think people kind of fell asleep on the 76ers because of Joel sitting out for as long as he did. I think people were like,
Mhm.
well, they're kind of trending downward. Now they're in a play-in game scenario. Like, are they even that good? But you've seen with Joel coming back in the lineup, it's a completely different team. And this team is playing really good basketball. And if you're telling me that all they have to do is beat the first team they play in the play-in to get the Bucks, I'm taking them to beat the Bucks. Like I don't think that Doc Rivers is good enough to beat his old team. I think it's one of those things where I don't believe in Doc Rivers. I think Dame and Giannis are great, but like you said, I don't think that the Milwaukee Bucks are as deep as we thought they were coming into the season. I think coming into the season we were like, oh, this team is definitely a team that can compete in the East. It's just going to be whether it's the Celtics or the Bucks. I think that discussion is over. I think that ship has sailed. You should never have gotten rid of your former coach. You should never have brought Doc Rivers in. It was a mistake. Doc Rivers sounds like it's a mistake. I mean, every time he talks about it, he's like, I've never seen anything like this. They weren't playing bad. They had a good record. And since he's been their head coach, it's just not been the same Milwaukee team that was in that first half of the season. It's just not the same team. And I think that the 76ers are primed to make a run. And the last thing that the Bucks want to see is Maxey and Embiid coming barreling towards them. I think Oubre is playing super well. Tobias Harris is playing pretty well. And I think they've got the tools to make it past the Bucks and into that second round. And I think if you have them playing the Knicks, I still like them better than the Knicks because other than Brunson, like I don't really find any of their other players good enough to really stop Joel Embiid. Like, Hartenstein's going to stop Joel Embiid. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's that number two guy that's supposed to help Brunson out? Like, I mean, where is he at?
That nowhere, and that's kind of the thing. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, like,
it's all Brunson.
I think that's
Um,
why it leans towards 76ers there.
I just don't know if the 76ers have an answer for Giannis. I mean, Joel Embiid's the answer for everything,
Yeah,
but
but I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, but then who's their answer for Dame? Because
it's
Tyrese Maxey's not
Maxi.
playing defense like that.
Well, I mean,
Um,
but I think Dame has not
I
been
don't
playing
believe
well
in Joel
either.
Embiid. I'm not a Joel Embiid believer, right? And I think we've seen enough of Joel Embiid in the playoffs to know that he doesn't play well in the playoffs. And I think the reason that is because refs are not calling as many fouls
Hmm.
in the playoffs. He's not getting 20 free throws a game. He literally shoots like 16 a game
But if you were
when he
gonna have
plays.
a matchup where you were gonna force a ref to make those calls, that's Giannis and him matching up. That's the one where it's gonna be the most physical.
But the thing is that they're not going to call it because they're going to let them be physical. Joel Embiid's going to be flopping,
I mean,
absolutely flopping, and he's not going to get the calls that he normally gets.
so Giannis isn't either though. So does that really help either of those
But
teams?
Giannis doesn't. But
He gets
Giannis
to the
doesn't need to
line a
go to the
lot.
line
He
near as
gets to
much.
the
He doesn't
line
need
a
to go to the
lot though.
line.
He
He
gets
doesn't
to
need
the
to
line
go.
a
He doesn't
ton.
need to go
He's
like
more
Joel
of a
Embiid
free
does.
throw merchant than SGA.
But if Joel Embiid is supposed to lead the team, he has to get 20 free throws because he has to get 40 points. And he's not getting 40 points off of anything except at least 15,
Yeah,
16 free throws.
you know my boy's chucking 8 threes a night. You know Joel Embiid is shooting that three ball 8 times
He's
a
missing
night.
them.
He went two. He's like 4 for his last 6 or something like that. He's averaging two threes made per game, and he's hitting like 65% of them or something. Like he's playing good. I mean,
He's not getting that in the playoffs.
I mean,
If
look,
Giannis is matched up on him, he's not getting that on the perimeter. He's not quick enough. He's obviously going to dominate him on the inside. I think he's just so much bigger than Giannis.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, you have
but
evidence on your side. I'm not saying you don't. I mean, it's kind of par for the course for the 76ers to kind of fold, as far as their players shrinking in big moments. But James Harden's not on this team anymore. Okay, we got to get past that. And I think that I think maybe this extra time off kind of helped him. I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm cuckoo bananas on it, but I do think that if he does end up getting over that hump, which, like you said, there's no evidence to prove that I'm right about that. If he can, though, then I think I'm kind of more on board with that. The Knicks Bucks thing for me, when you were talking about that, I just don't like. Really. Like, I mean, I don't like who's. So what? You just hack Giannis all game? Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do inside.
Yeah, I mean they have size.
Yeah,
That's not a problem. Like they have size. The problem is
the
guarding Giannis on the
offense.
perimeter, and they don't need to. They have to guard Dame on the perimeter, and Jalen Brunson's going to be fine enough to do that.
Yeah,
Um, I personally just think Jalen Brunson's going to be averaging like 35, 40 in these
he's gonna
playoffs.
need to.
Um, yeah, he's going to need to. But I also, you gotta remember, so much of our predictions right now, and pretty much every matchup that we have in the East, is dependent upon this Bucks and Magic game tomorrow.
True.
Like, do you know how
True.
much is riding on that game? If the Bucks lose that, then they're probably going to be the 4 or 3 spot, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And now we're talking about a whole different thing because if they're the 4 or the 3 spot, then all of a
They
sudden,
can drop as low to 4 if the Knicks win and the Cavs win and the Bucks lose. That's the only way they get the 4 seed. But if they do,
yeah.
then they're
But if
likely
they lose
playing
the
if
game,
they're likely playing the Magic again in a series if they get to the
yes,
4 seed, which in our opinion we think they would be able to get by regardless, but it also sets them up to have to play the Celtics in the second round, which is definitely not what you want if you're a Bucks fan. But
exactly. So the
I
Bucks are
mean,
trying as hard as they can to win this game tomorrow,
well, and the
right?
thing
Because they're
is
trying to avoid the
yeah.
Celtics. And they want personally, they just don't want to. They want to guarantee home court for as many rounds as they can.
Yeah, and you know, the worst the Magic can do is drop all the way to 8. I mean, like, I mean that they're going to be trying like hell too, man. Like that game is going to be
Exactly.
ridiculous. That game is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like we're going to be seeing. They're going to be trying so hard. Tune into that one.
yeah,
It's going to be some good bets.
yeah, that's going to be wild. So I mean that kind of, you know, that kind of encompasses kind of everything we wanted to talk about today. We kind of already went over kind of the Thunder update within the frame of kind of where we think they're at and where they think they're going here in the playoffs. So I think we can just kind of chalk that up to that. And we've broken this down beautifully for y'all, and we'll have it all bundled up and ready to package out for you. But seriously, don't miss out. Noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. Bucks Magic in Orlando. So I mean, you know, it's gonna be a time.
Orlando Magic.
So
Orlando Magic.
so we'll see what happens.
Orlando
But
Magic.
anything else you want to say before we skeetle on out of here?
Just to shake things up, let's go Magic. Fuck it.
All right.
You know,
Hey.
let's shake this
Hey.
playoffs up a little bit.
Paolo Banchero, baby. I need 30 and 20. I need 30 points and 20 rebounds. Come on, Banshee. Come on, Banshee. He does not grab many rebounds. He kills me, man. Like I don't know what the deal is with him, but he just doesn't grab many boards. He averages like 6 a game. Like you need to up that,
Not
brother.
trying.
Yeah, you need to up that, brother. All right, man. I appreciate you taking the time. Always good to see you. We'll be back before the NFL draft to give you guys kind of a breakdown of that. We're going to tease you with that and we'll give you our top 10 that we think and where that's going to go. We'll be doing some R&D on where we think these players are going to land. There's some rumors going around that certain players are supposed to be top 5, but could also be late second round. Where the quarterback's going to go, who wants to go where, who wants this, who wants that, who's going to get this, is anybody going to trade anybody? What will Caleb Williams be wearing? He says it's a suit that's one of one along with his girlfriend's dress. So we'll see if it's just something outrageous or if it's something super, you know, that I would want to wear. Tons to talk about. And for me, back here at Stone Sports Radio Studios, Zach out in the remote location de Casa Huffman. I bid you adieu. Anything else you wanna pitch in here?
No.
All right.
No.
We'll see you for episode 63, baby. We're almost to 69. We're gonna make it, and it's gonna be fantastic. So you all enjoy the rest of your weekend and keep stick on the ice.